There, my internet friends. How are you? It is a cool morning here in good old Queenstown, New Zealand. It's a fall. It's just starting fall here. Autumn, as they say. I always like the word autumn better than fall. Don't you? It sounds better. Kind of more romantic word. Yeah, opposite land down here in the Southern Hemisphere. We're going to do some critiques. Some hot critiques today. Yesterday I offered to do some critiques for all of my special friends inside of the Funky Lounge. We made a Facebook group a few months ago. It's blowing up. We have about 5,000 people in there. All good people. We're all kind of struggling with our photography and struggling with our creativity, so we all get in there and struggle together. Because it's better to kind of encourage each other and help each other out than to do it alone, right? You don't have to go through this life alone. A long time ago you did, but not with social media. Now we have one rule in our group, and it's be nice, right? Share photos. They don't have to be like the best thing you ever shot in your life. Just share a photo, ask for advice, tell us what you're struggling with, and everyone kind of helps each other out. So I started a thread, and I asked people to put in their favorite photos, or just a photo that they want to critique of, and we'll go do that right now, okay? And I'll just pick kind of a random one that's interesting to me. Doesn't mean it's the best, just means it just strikes me in some way. And you'll get a free copy of Aurora HDR Pro, either for Mac or Windows. Asterisk, the Windows version isn't ready yet, but we're working on it. I talk with those guys every week. If you're just tuning in, let me know where you're watching from. Okay, this is our thread. We'll get started by critiquing this photo from Brian Dunkel. He was the first one to post, so the early bird gets my worm. That sounds a little weird. Brian, you can have my worm. Okay? Let's make sure this broadcast is working. Let me refresh this thing and see what's going on. While that's going on, let's just see what's in Trey's tabs. I'm really into VR. I'm excited. They're making Fallout for VR. I am excited. I excite! Okay, let's scroll down here and see if we are broadcasting live. Yes, we are. New York, what's going on? Amanda Ferguson, what's going on? Hey, Suzanne from Germany. Steve, lost streaming. Jupiter, Florida. Hey, if you guys have all lost streaming, let me know. Or is it just, let me switch over to my Wirecast. I was having a few technical difficulties. It looks like we've been live for 2 minutes, 52 seconds. Looks all right. Looks all right. We'd love to hear more about my transition to Windows. By the way, check out my Windows article. I just updated it with some new information. Made some more mistakes, made some more fixes. Stu's helped me out a lot. Hey, Vincent from Miami, what's going on, bro? Brian is here to watch his critique live. What's happening? Hey, Thomas from Maryland. Czech Republic. Hey, Daniel, what's happening? Okay, let's jump right into the critiques. I don't have a lot of time. In about 25 minutes, I have to go to yoga. Right, I'm a yoga man. I love yoga. I've already done my meditation. You're from Andre from Kiev, Ukraine. I've been to Kiev 3 times. I love it. I love Ukraine. Streaming is back. We're back. Okay, let's start with this one. Okay, Disney Springs Boathouse. Okay, Brian, I like this photo. It's pretty good. Pretty good. And I know this is, I read in the comments that you said this is a drone, and you're asking if it's over-processed. I kind of like the drone. I don't think it's that attractive. It kind of looks like it's not that beautiful of a thing, right? It's not like clouds at sunset, which are much more beautiful. This almost comes across as a power line, right, which you kind of want to get rid of. I'm not sure it adds anything to the photo. It's kind of interesting because you're not sure what it is, but, you know. The other thing I might do is I might change the crop, maybe crop off the right 10%, because you have so many rich colors on the left, and on the right, like, the colors are not as interesting, you know. Maybe you're trying to keep the swerve of the drone, I don't know. And maybe cut off the top 10% of the sky to keep it more focused on that colorful area. And you might have heard my comments before, I'm never a fan of watermarks. I think I have a whole article on why I don't like watermarks, but for one thing, it makes them harder to share. I notice people don't reshare images that have watermarks on them, just because, I don't know, People like to share clean images. And if people really want to find you, if they really like the image, they'll find you, right? They'll find a way to buy it or license it or whatever. Okay, there's that. Also, Johnny, thanks for jumping in, and I like how you guys give each other advice and help. You are good lounge members, you guys. You know, for Brian, I'm going to do one per person, but I will tell you this is too vignetted on the outside. You don't want to have like this black transition to blue. Does that make sense? Too vignetted. Okay, Travis. Not the most exciting shot, was going for relaxing, but as far as photos go, mine always seem to lack a certain pop. They're rich, but not over-the-top colors and crispness. Okay, yeah, I see what you're going for here. I do like the pronounced big trunk coming out of the right side, so I think that's nice. But generally, I would say it's too chaotic, because you've got chaotic leaves, and you have a chaotic beach, right? There's no white space, there's no breathing space. And if you look down at the bottom, can you see how the leaves kind of overlap onto the beach? There should be some separation there. So if you were to get down lower and get the bottom of that tree up above the horizon, then you would have like a little bit of chaos, some ocean, and then chaos. Okay? That would improve it just a little bit. Maybe it does lack a little bit of pop. A little Aurora HDR would help, for example, or Unsharp Mask, for example. Okay. Now let's look at this one from Roy Johnson. A festival shot, 2016. UK would really appreciate your critique and any tips on shooting directly into the sun and dealing with lens flare. Okay. All right. So this one is a little bit soft. One thing, shooting into the sun, that can be fixed with HDR for sure, okay? That's one of the things HDR is great at. So I would shoot it at -1 exposure, okay? Exposure bias. Do multiple exposures if possible. I know people are moving around. You can still make a great HDR out of a single shot. Lens flare, I don't mind lens flare. I think lens flare is kind of pretty. And I know a lot of people that agree with me, because it's like a little surprise in your photo. The only way to deal with lens flare, really, at this angle when you're shooting right into it, is to correct it in Photoshop using Content Aware. But this is a tough one because the lens flare is right on this lady's hair, so that's tough for Content Aware to fix. And also, your people here on the left have come out very orange, very yellow. So one thing I sometimes do is either in Aurora or Photoshop is I will like drag a very cool gradient up from that side, and then I'll just start using a brush and making a few cool spots in there in the middle of the warm spots. Otherwise it all is very lava-esque. Like if you look at the left side, everyone is very orangey orange, you know, they're all kind of Trumpeskian. And over on the right, everyone is a little bit of a cooler color. See what I mean? Here we go. Now, this is nice. Very nice photo. Who shot this? I'm sorry. This is Thomas Jacob Brabolek. Not my proudest shot, but the Friendship Gate to Chinatown, D.C. It's cool. I've never been there. That's a really pretty gate. I love the processing here. I like how, I don't know if you guys can notice or not, but he has taken the blacks and pushed them into the blue side, which I quite like. I think the colors are nice. I think maybe the reds, like on the ground here and over on the right, the reds are coming off a bit indigo or a bit purpley for some reason. So here's a hot tip. What you can do is you can go into selective color in Photoshop. It's also in Lightroom. And then you go to the red channel, and then you can decrease the magenta, okay, and that will make it more red, because you know there's a Chinese red, you know, that's basically 25500, like a red, like fresh paint red. That's the Chinese red. So whenever you have Chinese stuff, it's good to have that pure Chinese red, okay, then it really translates as red, okay, if that makes sense. That makes sense. Let's go check the live broadcast, make sure everyone's having fun. Are you guys having fun? Are you doing it in? Senga Blue says the sea draws you in. Joseph Allison, the watermark is not going to let a watermark stop them from stealing it. That's correct. That's another one of my 10 points I have in my article about watermarks. It definitely does not stop. You're welcome, Brian. Thank you for submitting your images. By the way, thank you all for submitting your images. You guys are the greatest. Steve Mitchell says, I really like this shot, but I want to know what you think will make it better. Blue hour over southern Manhattan, shot from the Brooklyn Bridge Park. Okay. This is cool. Okay, I like it. I do have some advice right away. Hey, so I've seen a lot of shots from these old piers. I've never gotten here, and I've seen some really, really cool shots. So I would definitely go back. What was your name? Steve? Steve, go back and explore this area even more, because I think, you know, there are dozens of cool photos you can get from here. Some of my favorite photos from these piers are where you can see the piers alone by themselves with some separation. So try all kinds of stuff. Another thing to try, which I always want to try, is get a very wide angle lens and get up as high as you can and aim down so that you have the skyline on the top of the horizon and then all the piers like on the bottom 70%. That's just an idea. As for this one, here's my advice. Maybe a little too much sky. I feel like there's a little too much breathing room up there. And I know these are long exposures. That's why the sky is so streaky, which I really like. I love this mixture between blue and purple. Really, really nice. I would get a lot of different shots and pick the one that has the most texture. Okay, this one is good though. It's just fine. Again, not a huge fan of the watermark. I won't go into that. There's one tiny thing in that the buildings are leaning just a little bit in on the sides. By the way, I like how you have a little white space on both sides. Sometimes people that take city shots, one of the buildings like bleeds off the edge of the photo, and on the other side of the photo there's just white space, and to me that doesn't feel balanced. But I like how you have kind of like a city inside of this white space. It reminds you like of a cover of a SimCity game or something. That's cool. But the buildings are leaning slightly in. I don't have a problem with like wide angle shots where you're looking up at buildings that they're all like wonky, leaning different directions. Some people think that's like the devil, like you should never do that, but I think it's kind of cool. But if they're just slightly leaning, you can correct that, okay? Get those straight up. It's like having a horizon that's a little bit off. It doesn't feel right. But if you have your horizon like way off, like 30 degrees, obviously you meant to do that on purpose and it gets kind of artsy. So the way to fix that, a few ways to fix it. One is, there's automatic perspective things in Lightroom and Photoshop. The other is you can use the crop tool. There's a perspective crop tool that lets you drag all four corners. So drag it around the whole shoot and match, and then take the top two and just pull them in a little bit until you see the lines orient, then hit enter, and then all the buildings will go straight. Okay, you'll have total Manhattan Viagra. Okay, Jamie Rich, goose landing on ice. Okay, by the way, all of these opinions are just my own, and they're worth what you pay for them, which in this instance is 0. Okay, I think it's good to get a lot of different opinions. I heard someone giving a critique of something. I forgot what it was about. Like let's say someone that's really into EDM, like me, but I don't make my own EDM music. Like someone really into EDM and they are asked to critique an opera song. Well, they might have a few things to say, but they're really not experts on opera. To that point, I am not an expert on bird photography. I know people are really into birds. I am too impatient to shoot birds, frankly. But I'll give a few pieces of advice, I guess. One, I like to see a little more white space. Do you see how that top wing is just right on the edge of the frame? Give it a little bit more breathing room. It's just too close up there. The second thing is, I think it's a fine shot. It's nice birds, nice lighting. You're nice and low. I kind of like the ice flying around. Unless you told me it was landing on ice, I would have no idea. I would just think it's like, tiptoeing across asphalt, like salty asphalt. Maybe there's a few things you could do to make it look icier, right? It would take a while, but you could make it look like ice. It doesn't feel or look like ice. It looks like, wet asphalt, like at a tailgate party at a Bills game or something, right? And I'm not a fan of that watermark, and especially that font. I don't really care for it. But that's me. That's me. Whenever I know I keep talking about watermarks, but whenever I look at a watermark, I'm really into typography, and the next thing I do is I look at the font. I'm like, why did they choose that font? What does it say about them? So I really begin like psychoanalyzing the photographer and their font choice. Maybe this is just because I'm neurotic. Okay, Brent Guiliano, from a recent trip to Iceland, had some issues with the bright sun. I don't have a problem with the bright sun. I think it's one of the best things about the photo. I like the sun flares. Looks cool. Looks cool. I do have a few pieces of feedback. Not in any order. By the way, again, thank you guys very much for submitting your photos. I love you guys. You're amazing. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for supporting each other. We're all in this together. We're going to get better together, all right? We're all struggling together. I have so much cool secret stuff to show you guys I can't even talk about yet, but I will. Like some really cool photos I'm working on for some patrons and all kinds of stuff. That's coming soon. Okay, back to your shot here. First, you've gotten a little heavy on the vignetting in the sky because you want to have like a bright blue sky, and it's gotten a little bit gray vignette-y up there. You know what I mean? Next, you've kind of buried the lead in a way, all right? In that, really, the most interesting structures in this shot are those spires that shoot out of the water there, okay? And you've done a few things to make those seem less significant. One is you've blocked them. Do you see that one other little hump that comes up that blocks those two spires? That's not good. I've been to this area and I forget, if you could have walked over there and like, so that's not in the way, and you just, because you really want those spires shooting out of clean water, right? And right now they've been blocked. So that would make it a little bit better. Either walk over there or bite the bullet and spend whatever it is, $500, $800, get a quadcopter and just get a little bit of elevation, right? A little bit of elevation does wonders, right? Forever as photographers, we've been stuck with a tripod. So we've had the amazing option to go from 1 foot off the ground to 6 feet off the ground, right? We've had to work within these constraints forever. But we're no longer constrained to this extremely short range of vertical motion, okay? Now we go up thousands of feet with a quadcopter, okay? So that's, again, something else to get your head around, all right? We no longer have to be terrestrial-based photographers, right? So, but it takes a while to get your head around that, okay? It is a pain to carry on a quadcopter, but come on. That's why we're out there. The other thing that you could have done to accentuate those spires in the water, even the more monolithic ones to the right, is crop off the right 30% of the photo, the right 40%, to really get in tight on that. Because if you look at it, the right 40% of the photo is not really adding anything, right? It's actually the most boring part. So get rid of as much boring parts as you can. And to that, I wouldn't really mention this, but the bottom 25% is also doesn't really add to the photo. It's just like more rocks. But that would go away if you were to get closer to the actual things. Okay. All right. Before we look at this one from Studio E Artworks, let's just check in, make sure everything's going okay. Gyap says constructive critique. Love the broadcast. Thank you, Gyap. Thomas. Oh, you got to go to class? Good. Good luck in class. Use all your brain. Matthew, this is great. Thank you. Andrew, you're so empowering. You inspire me to make art every time I hear you. Thank you. You guys inspire me too. I see these shots and I think like, I got to go take more photos. What am I doing? I'm just sitting here like messing around in Lightroom, like organizing my files. I'm like, I want to go take photos and process photos. Okay. Let's go. Let's go. Studio E Artwork says, I brought 2 images into Photomatic and blended with original, but the boats look fuzzy, which they don't in DNG. Something's not working. Okay. I don't know about the fuzzy, but if you were to really mix them together in Photoshop with the original DNG, they should be sharp. They don't look too fuzzy. They look okay. You're probably being a little hard on yourself. I think it's an okay photo. It's very minimalist, which I like. A few points. I think just having one boat over there would be okay. That far right boat is just kind of like sneaking into the picture. You know, it's like it's been photobombed by another mast at the last second. Like, get me in there too. I'm a boat. So I might like just even Photoshop out just the mast. You can leave the other stuff in there, and don't forget to Photoshop out the reflection of the mast. And I think that would help. If there's singular objects like this on a minimalist landscape, I like to have odd numbers, 1, 3, 5, 7, etc. For some reason, it just works better. All right. And also, I get rid of that radio tower to the right of the bridge there, because it overly competes with the bridge and is not as pretty. Okay. Travis Tinsley. Just in case there's time for a second one. There's not. I can't do it. I'm trying to get as to many people. That's a nice shot, though. Guru Dutt. All right. Look at that guy rocking the stash. Bam. This photo was taken on a cloudy morning during sunrise in Prague. Could not see the sunrise, though. Sad face. It was shot on the Canon 6D 16mm lens, 30-second exposure. Tried to edit in Lightroom, but I am not happy with the overall results, so please suggest what I could do to improve the overall mood of this picture. Thank you, Trey, Ratcliff and Events. Smiley face. Great, okay. I'm Jelly. I've always wanted to go to Prague. We're about to do, by the way, a 40-day trip across Europe. We're going to be doing free photo walks in 10 cities. Stay tuned for that. Sign in for our newsletter. You'll be the first to hear which cities we're going to. I hope Prague is on the list. Okay. So what's happened here is you shot with a wide-angle lens, right? You told me you did. What happens with a wide-angle lens, which is no surprise to you, but when I say it, maybe it will click a little bit more, is it takes everything in the middle and makes it super tiny. And it takes all the things on the edge and makes it super big, right? And so what's happened here is because the city was so far away from you, it's just made the city super tiny, and it's really stretched out the sky and water. Okay, so what to do about that? I mean, you can even see it here on the edge, on the right edge. Like if you look at, I know each of those segments of the bridge are the same, but if you look at the segment on the right, it looks like that segment is like 5 times as big as the first segment. But the same thing is happening vertically with the city. Okay, so here's an approach, a theory that is not shared by many other photographers, but that's okay. I'm a lone wolf, like Will Ferrell in Blades of Glory, a lone wolf. So you shoot something with a lens, like a 16mm lens, like you shot this with 1635, whatever, and it warps reality, right? Okay. That's accepted amongst photographers. Oh yeah, of course a lens warps photography. That's why you use it. Okay? But I say when you go back into Photoshop or light lens or warping it with software, you're warping it either way. So in a lot of these cases, what I will do is I will go in and I will stretch the city vertically in Lightroom to make it seem more big and grandiose. Not like this little, Christmas train model, right? So it's a little bit of an advanced technique. I'll try to describe it, and maybe I'll make a video about it. But basically what you do, and this will be the last critique of the day. I'll try to squeeze some more. Maybe I'll try to do more tomorrow or this week, because I know we got a lot of meat left on the bone. But let me try to describe this technique. What you do is you get into Photoshop, all right? And then you go change the canvas size, okay? And just add like a bunch of vertical space on top and a bunch of vertical space on the bottom, all right? And then what you'll do is you'll use the transform tool and just stretch the whole thing vertically. So it goes, okay? And the middle will get bigger, but so will the top part. The top and bottom part will get even bigger, okay? Okay, so now the whole thing is stretched vertically. Don't stretch it so far it looks ridiculous, but just a little bit. However big it looks realistic, okay? And then what you do is you grab the sky, just the sky with a marquee tool or and you shrink that back down. And you do the same thing with the water, shrink that back down. Okay, and then because your sides are stretched, you can use a marquee tool to grab like the right and left 20% and shrink just that part in. So it'll make that bridge seem a little bit more shrimpy. Okay. The last thing you could do is crop in a little bit more. Like, for example, you don't need this boat on the right. That's not adding anything. You could maybe just have in just 2 segments of the bridge and stop on the left side right by that copper-topped cathedral. And that would just bring more emphasis on the city itself. A zoomed out one isn't bad like this because it's a little bit minimalist. It's fine. But I think people really want to see Prague, right? It's almost, you can't even tell it's Prague because it's so far away at this point. All right, you guys. Well, I'm going to leave. No, commenting is not closed on that post. You can go add some more. Like I said, I'll try to do more critiques. If you guys enjoy, let me know. Tell your friends about the Funky Lounge. And I'll put a little plug here, if you don't mind. We have this new thing over at Stuck in Customs called the Stuck in Customs Passport. Nothing has changed on the blog. You know, for the past 10 years, I've been putting up a new photo every day. Been writing about the photo, give tips and tricks. None of that stuff changes. But now, thanks to modern technology, I'm carrying on to Osmo. I'm getting a lot more behind-the-scenes stuff. And then I dump it to our team in Scotland, and they make it all beautiful. And we add extra stuff if you're a Passport member. I think it's just the cost of a few cups of coffee a month. You get to support one of your favorite internet artists who's there to help you. And yeah, you get bonus stuff on a lot of the posts. You get access to a lot of videos, presets, all kinds of stuff. So if you guys feel like spending the money it costs for a few cups of coffee a month, we would welcome you becoming a Passport member on Stuck in Customs. That would be awesome. Okay, you guys, I'm off to yoga. Got to stay in shape, got to stay healthy, got to stay sharp. And then I will be back to you guys later, okay? Brian Dunkel says, thank you for doing this, Trey. Really appreciate your words. No problem. Jimmy Lynch says, thank you very much, Trey. My pleasure. Brian got the year subscription. Great extra info in there. Look at that. A live testimonial. Thank you, Brian.